Yesterday we have seen the triggers, how to create a trigger, that is statement level trigger and row level trigger. In the row level trigger, we are using the call pairs colon new and colon bold. So these two can be used along with this operations. That is, in the insert and update, we can use the new, and whereas the update and delete, we can use the bold. So same way, so we have the mutating triggers. What is mutating trigger means? Whenever you are using the row level trigger and you are using the DML operation on the same table, then you will get some errors. That is called as a mutating error. Okay. So mutating into a row level trigger based on a table trigger, body cannot read data from the same table, and also we cannot perform DML operations on the same table. If you are trying to, for this Oracle server returns an error is table mutating. This error is called mutating table, and the trigger is called mutating trigger. So mutating errors are not occurred in the statement level trigger, because through this statement level trigger we are performing DML operations automatically, data committed into database. Whereas in the row level trigger, so we are using performing the transactions, data is not committed, and also again we are reading this data from the same table. To avoid this error, we are using the autonomous transactions in the triggers. To avoid the mutating trigger, we need to use the autonomous transactions. Suppose you can check this table, enter the table data. Okay. I have only 16 employees now. So what I will do, I will create a trigger. So create a replace tr11 after delete on emp1 for each row. Declare a number 10 begin, select count star into a from emp1. So what I am doing here, so I am creating the trigger on the emp1 after delete. So once you delete, so automatically this trigger should be fired. So what is happening? And it is trigger is writing on the same table, and in the body we are using the same table to capture the count here, so that it is giving you the trigger already used. Okay, I'll give another name. So create a replace trigger tr11 underscore 1005 after delete on emp1 for each row. Declare a number b, so begin, select count star into a from emp, end. So trigger got created. So I'll try to delete. So what is the records here? Suppose I'm the employee number 2001, 2002. So I'll try to delete where emp number is equals to 2001. So what will happen? Be throwing the error. That is table apps.emp1 is mutating. Trigger or function may not see it. That means whenever you are performing and creating the trigger on the same table, and we are using the same table in this, again in the body of the trigger, then it will throw the mutating error. Okay. To overcome this, what we have to do is so simple. We have to add one more statement, that is Pragma autonomous transactions. So before begin, we have to add the specification. In the specification, Okay. So here we are adding the create or replace trigger tr11 underscore 1005 after delete on emp1 for each row. Declare a number I am taking. Pragma autonomous transaction begin. Select count star into a from emp1. So if you want, you can print this. Otherwise, you can add this one DVMS statement also. So I have to connect here first. Okay. So now what I'm doing, on the same table, I'm taking the count here, creating the trigger on the EMP1 table, and on the same table, in the body we are using the DML operations here. So now I am trying to delete this one. Okay. So here we need to use the commit also. Commit. Then I am going to delete this employee record 2001. Now it got deleted. And here 16 it came. Count. It is taking the count and here deleting this record. So this is about the mutating trigger. Whenever you are using the triggers in the trigger specification, we are using the one table. Same table when you are using in the body also, then you have to mention that Pragma autonomous transactions. Okay. So this is the important. Without this, what will happen? You cannot delete. Suppose if this is not present in the query, then what will happen? So here it is not possible to delete. We'll have the 2002 record. So then I try to delete. It will give the mutating error. Okay. So to overcome this, we have to add the keyword called Pragma autonomous transactions. Okay. You have to add this one. Then it will be when you delete, it will delete the data. Otherwise, it will throw the error. So next we have this instead of triggers. So what is that instead of trigger? This is a trigger that allows you to update data in the tables via their view, which cannot be modified directly to DML statement. In Oracle, you can create an instead of trigger for a view only. You cannot create an instead of trigger for a table. Okay. So in the triggers, how many triggers are there? So previously we have seen before and after. So before we have the 6 triggers and after also we are having the six triggers, before insert, before update, before delete. And same way after update, after delete, after insert. Okay. So these are 6 and same way we are having the row level and statement level. So row level 6 and statement level 6 total 12 triggers are there, including if the instead of triggers it will be 13 triggers. Okay. So instead of triggers can be created on the views only, not on the table. So I'll create a table xxemp underscore v as select star from emp. Table ID does. I'm creating the new table with this. So table got created. And same way I'll create one more table. Department, that also I'll drop this first. Create table xxdept underscore vs. Select start from DEPT. So I can check the data. So two tables are having the data. Now what I'm doing, so I'm going to create a view on this. So create or replace view xxemp dept view. So I'm joining these two tables and creating the view. So I select a dot apply number, a dot enum, a dot job, a dot salary, a dot high date, comma, b dot dname, b dot location, b dot department number. From xxempv, xxdeptv, is the table alias names, where 1 is equals to 1 and a dot department number is equals to b dot department number. So is this a simple view or complex view? Is this simple view or complex view?
Simple view.
No, simple view can be created on the single table. Okay. So complex view means we can create on the multiple tables using the joins and subqueries. So when we are creating the view on the multiple tables, that is called as the complex view. Okay. So here, create or replace view, xxemp dept view. So on this, we are taking the two tables here. If you see xxempv, xxdeptv. Okay. So view is created. Now, shall I try to insert the data into this view? So it is not possible to insert the data in the complex view. In the simple view, you can easily insert the data, whereas coming to the complex view. So here, I'm trying to insert the data using this insert into xxdept, xxempdept view. So here, values I'm providing. So all the values I'm providing here. But it is telling that you cannot modify a column which maps to a non-key preserved table. Okay. An attempt was made to insert or update columns of a join view which maps to a non-key preserved table. So that means in the complex view, you cannot insert using directly into insert statement. But how can you insert this? So you can use the triggers. By using the triggers, you can insert the data here. So in the complex view, you cannot directly insert the data. So to overcome this, we are using the instead of triggers. So instead of triggers can be used on the views only, not on the table. So the previously whatever the triggers were created on the tables, if you see here, table name will be there. But whereas the instead of trigger, we are going to create on the views. So create or replace trigger tr call instead of insert on. Here the keyword must be there instead of. So insert on is the view name. xxemp dept view for each row. So instead of triggers will be created on the view and also with the row level trigger only, not a statement level trigger. So we must be use these two keywords instead of and for each row, then only it will working. So here also, here it should not be table name, it should be view name. Whenever you are using the instead of keyword, that means you are creating the trigger on the view only, not on the table. So begin insert into xxemp underscore with is the main table for us. Here, what are the columns are there? These many columns we have to mention, values we have to give. So in the values, in the row level, we are using that qualifiers, colon new, colon old. This here, we are using the insert statement, we are using the new. Colon new dot employee number, comma colon new dot employee name, comma colon new dot job, colon new dot salary, colon new dot high date, colon new dot department number. Same way, insert into XXDEPTV, department name, location, department number, values, colon new dot dname, comma colon new dot location, comma colon new dot department number, end. So in the complex view, so if you want to insert the data, you have to create a trigger, then only you can able to insert the data into that view or in the tables. So now I created the trigger. Now shall I try this again? Insert into XX EMP view. I'm trying to insert this one. Now one row got inserted. Okay. Same insert statement. It was thrown the error. So now after creating the trigger, it was inserted the data. Okay. So that is the instead of trigger. Same way you can use the on the update statement also I can use this instead of triggers, and on the delete also you can use the instead of triggers. So how can you disable the triggers? So using the alter table transaction disable all triggers. So suppose is the table name. Alter table emp1 disable all triggers. So emp1 table altered. If you want to enable, simply alter table emp1 instead of the disable, you can use enable. Enable all triggers. So temporarily you can disable the triggers and you can enable the triggers whenever it is required. So to drop the triggers permanently, you have to use the drop trigger name. This is the syntax you have to follow. So what is the advantage of the trigger means? So automatic execution of the code based on the event. So use it to impose user-defined restrictions on the tables, provide security on the tables while manipulating data from anywhere. These are the advantages of the triggers. So next we'll move on to next topic, that is Pragma autonomous transaction. So what is this Pragma autonomous transaction? So just now I have used it somewhere in this previous example here. So whenever you are performing any, creating any trigger and you are doing any DML operations on the same table, so you have to use the Pragma autonomous transaction. So that means it will not affect the transactions. Autonomous transactions are independent transactions used in the either procedures or functions or triggers. Generally, autonomous transactions are used in child procedures. These procedures are not affected from the main transaction when we are using commit or rollback. Okay. So that means in the trigger where previously in the body we are using the pragma autonomous transaction. So whatever the trigger it is doing in the specification. So with that, it should not affect the data in the body of the table. Whatever we are using in the table, on that it will not affect. That means suppose if you are doing commit in somewhere and in the body we are using the rollback, the transaction will not be affected. So individual transaction will be separate. That means wherever you are using the child transactions, that will be not affected by this commit or rollback of the parent transactions. So how will you define this? Syntax is pragma autonomous transaction. This is the syntax we have to use in the child procedure or child functions or child triggers. Okay. So this pragma is used in declare section of the procedure. So create a table. Create table xx underscore test with only name varchar2 is also there. I dropped the table, so I'm creating the new table with one column. So now what I will do, I'll create a procedure for this. So create or replace child procedure is begin insert into xx text values India commit and so how can I call this procedure? Is there any data present? So there is no data. So I am calling this procedure execute child underscore p. Procedure executed successfully. Now when I call this again, India is inserted. So that means in the using the procedure I am inserted one record into this table. So now what I will do, I will create another procedure. We'll call it as a main procedure. So create or replace procedure main underscore p is begin. Insert into xx test values USA. Insert into xx test values UK. And in this main procedure, I am calling the child procedure. After that, I am using the rollback. So I have created the child procedure and I have inserted one record into that. So after that, I am creating the main procedure. Within the main procedure, I am calling the child procedure here. So I am inserting the two records. After that, child procedure I am calling. So what will happen? So after inserting in the two records, it will go to child procedure and it will call this procedure. So in this procedure, again insert statement is there. So then after that, commit is there. So before that again, I'll clear this, truncate the table. So now there is no data in this table. So what I'm going to do is I'm calling this main procedure. So what it will do, it will insert the two records here first. After that, it will call the child table. Then it will go to child table and insert this India also. That means 3 records it should insert into this table. Okay, procedure main underscore p compiled. Then we can check this table. There is no data inserted. Why? So that means after inserting these 2 records, we are calling the child procedure, and here inserting this record, it is committing. Commit also it is there. But after that, again, rollback is there. Okay. So I have to just compiled only. So I have to execute this. Execute main underscore p. Got it? So just compile. Now I'm executing this main underscore p. Then check this table. Table got inserted USA, UK, India. But here my requirement is I'm using the rollback. Okay. So rollback means it should not insert these records. What are the main procedure records we are inserting? They should not be inserted in the table. But whereas due to I am calling the child procedure here, then the child procedure commit is there so that it is committed, but rollback is not working here. That means, so here what is happening? So here it is committing the data. Suppose I will reverse this. I will use the rollback here and I will use the commit here. I will truncate this table again. I'll compile this child procedure and check this data. There is no data in the table. Now, what I'm doing, I'm compiling this main procedure and calling this main procedure. So while I'm calling the main procedure, now what will happen? So it will insert the USA, UK records, and after that it will go to child procedure, and in the child procedure it will insert the India. After that, there is a rollback is there. So when you check this table now, so data is not inserted. So why? Because after inserting the child record, it is rollback is there, so that so it is affecting the main procedure records, that is transaction also. What are the main procedure transaction are there? So this also rollback is doing. That means child table transaction it is affecting by the rollback or commit, or in the main procedure because of the child procedure commit or rollback, it is affecting the main procedure transactions. So this is the creating the problem. So for this, I don't want to affect these transactions with the when we are calling the any other child procedure, we should not affect these transactions. Same way, when we are calling this child procedure, we should not affect the transactions within this. Okay. So what are the child procedure transaction is not affected by the main procedure transaction. Same way, main procedure transaction should not be affected by the we are calling the child procedure when it should not affect these transactions. So for that, so we have to use the Pragma autonomous transaction in the child procedure. Okay. So here my requirement is I don't want to commit all the records in the main procedure. Whereas whenever I am going to execute this main procedure, I want to roll back this data. The rollback doesn't applicable for the procedure. So I want to delete the data from the main procedure, but I don't want to delete the child procedure data. So means that is rollback. So in this way, so it is if you are not using the Pragma autonomous transactions, it is affecting entire main procedure data and child procedure data. So to overcome this in the child procedure, what you have to write is create or replace child P is in the declare section. We are mentioning the pragma autonomous transaction. Okay. So this keyword is important. Pragma autonomous transactions. Begin insert into XX text values India. Then this procedure is compiled. Now you can call this. So here main procedure. What I will do, I will replace this, roll back, and I will compile this one. So now I am executing this main procedure. What will happen? In the main procedure, we are having the two insert statements, and after that, child transaction is there. So after that, rollback is there. So this now, when you execute this main procedure, the child, whatever the main procedure transaction, these two will be rollback. That means they should not be inserted into the table. Only child table data should be inserted. Check. Execute main P. So now executed. Now this one. Only India got inserted. Okay. In the child procedure, we are having the India, and in the main procedure, we are having the two records, but it is not inserted due to this rollback command. So whereas child procedure is data, it is inserted. Why? Because we are using the pragma autonomous transaction, and here commit is there. This commit is not affecting this rollback. Okay. Same way if I use in the reverse order. So I will truncate this one again. So table doesn't have data. Now in the child procedure, I will use the rollback. I compiled it. And in the main procedure, I'll use the commit. So now tell me, if I call the main procedure, what will happen? So execute main procedure means it will insert two records. After that, it will go to the child procedure. In the child procedure, it is having insert, but there is immediately rollback is there. So that means India will not be inserted. Only these two will be USA, UK will be inserted. After that, commit is there. Okay. Now call this execute main P. Check this table. Only USA and UK is inserted. So that means so parent and child table transactions it should not affect one by one. So by using this rollback or commit, so that we have to use the pragma autonomous transactions. Otherwise, if you are not using the pragma autonomous transactions, so when you are calling this another program within this another procedure, so what will happen? What are the last transaction we are mentioning, that is commit or rollback, that will affect the entire transactions. Okay. So including the main procedure and child procedure transaction, it will affect entire thing. Okay. To overcome this, we are using this pragma autonomous transactions in the child procedure. Okay. This is about the pragma autonomous transaction. Next, we will have the PLSQL collections. PLSQL collection. In the PLSQL, we have the composite data types. Under the composite data types, we have the only PLSQL record and collection. These only the types, two data types here. So what is the collection? It is also a variable. A group of values stored under one variable is called as a collection.